From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, Season 6, episode, I almost said episode 16. I'm way ahead of schedule. Episode 6. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, and I am joined by my lovely sidekick, my Vanna White, as I like to call him this season, I guess. I think we'll go with that, Vanna White. He is Mr. Papa Socceritis, Coach Rafa Castorena. Coach, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, doing good.
How's the Christmas?
What's that?
How's the Christmas?
It was good. I was about to get to that. Yeah. Merry Christmas. Merry belated Christmas. How was your Christmas?
It was warm
Yeah.
here in Del Rio. It's been cold out a couple of days, but we're expecting, I think, Friday's going to be 88 degrees here. So, that
Gotcha.
Jekyll and Hyde Texas weather.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. We played our game yesterday. Was I think it was like a 42-degree temperature difference between Sunday and yesterday. So you got to love Texas. But yeah, so again, Rafa is powering through some audio video issues as he is live on location in the quinceañera backdrop, coming to us live from Del Rio. So that's always a it kind of comes and goes, the signal, but he's pushing through it. So we appreciate it. So thank you, Rafa. Hey, excited for today's show. We're going to cover Region 3, Region 4. We're going to have our one guest today, great guest, and Caitlin Sawyer. Caitlin with an I. Okay, I screwed that up earlier today. But excited to have her on as well. And then the initial unveiling, I made fun of Rafa long enough. He finally got tired of it. So he's rolling out the RPI. And so our first inaugural RPI of the season. So you guys, again, send all hate mail towards Rafa, not me on this, okay? But I do got to share, I do got to mention he compiles lots of stuff, talks with many coaches. I've seen the spreadsheets, lots of data goes into it. That said, whenever we do rankings, power rankings, anything, it's never going to be, it involves people, right? So it's prove us right, prove us wrong. But either way, what's unique, if you're new to our show, what we do with the RPI, which stands for the Rafa Power Index, is it's kind of a one of a kind power ranking system where what we primarily talk about is we rate programs, I guess you could say, regardless of classification on both the boys and girls side, 4A through 6A. So we Rafa lists his top 15 and then his next 5 in. And pretty much every episode, no more than every other episode of Inside Texas High School Soccer from here on out will include the RPI. So be on the lookout for that. Again, send all hate mail towards Rafa. Rafa, anything to add to that, to the RPI in particular?
Yeah, I don't have to gas station flip coins to see who's ranked 1, 2, 3, kind of like the playoffs in Texas high school football. So a lot of data sheets, a lot of talk with the coaches and so forth.
Yeah, good deal. So again, excited. We're going to bring in Coach Sawyer momentarily from Austin Vandegrift. We're going to talk about Region 3 and Region 4, our previews. Again, so with that, we're not going to go through, pick a district champion for every district, but we'll highlight select districts. We'll go through that as well in 4A, 5A, and 6A. And then we will wrap up something different, with this being our last show of either Inside Texas High School Soccer or the 50/50 podcast of the year 2025. We're going to look at our top Texas high school soccer moments of the year and our top podcast moments of the year. So stick around with us. We're going to have all of that coming up. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and bring in our only guest, I should say, not our first guest, but our only guest of the day. She is Coach Caitlin Sawyer, Coach Caitlin with an I. I said that right, from Austin Vandegrift. Coach, how are you?
Yes. Hi, how are y'all?
Great. We're great. Excited to have you here. How are things in your neck of the woods right now? What's the temperature up there?
Same thing. It was hot and then all of a sudden it turned cold. Perfect time for soccer season.
Of course.
We had our alumni game and it actually started sleeting a little bit on us and we got to finish it and we left and it was still sleeting. So back to practice this morning and it's, sitting 50 degrees. So sunny though.
All right. Awesome. How did gotta ask you, how did the alumni game go? Did did the current squad pull it out, or did the AARP old ladies figure it out, or how'd it go?
We had a good showing of some alumni, but we had to intermix a little bit. But our girls pulled it off. I think it was 4-2, but we gave them a little bit of help with some players of ours because we didn't have that many this year because it was so cold.
So a win-win situation, I guess.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
awesome. So hey, we're excited to have you on here, and obviously we're going to talk. We're going to talk all things Austin Vandegrift women's soccer. Going to talk about your district. Going to talk about Region 4. Talk a little bit about last year. Talk a little bit about this year, and then anything else you have to share with us. So to do that, we are going to go ahead and bring up what we call the profile on here. And give me 1 second here as I pull this guy up. So, so Coach, we're going to go ahead. We're going to look at it here for a few minutes. So we look at your profile, the profile on Austin Vandegrift. So the year, Region 4, District 25-6A, 2024-2025 season. This is not correct whatsoever. So that is not you. Your record is definitely not. It was not 24-1-1.
It was not. No, and that's okay. Hey,
I
I'll
saw
take a
that,
24
but
1-1 though.
yeah, I know. This is, I don't know how we, so we apologize for that. Let's get that off of here. But either way, here I have it on my notes. Give me 1 second so we can look at that. This is when we talk about doing live radio. This is what we're talking about. So you get to see everything that doesn't cooperate, that doesn't go the right way. This is what we're talking about. So give me 1 second here. All right, got this guy. Guy just never saved for whatever reason. The only thing that literally saved was your crest. So tell us. So, all right, I'll run us through this by memory. So your season that was, Coach, last year. So finished third in. All right, finished third in district 25-6A. But yet, and you came in as the number 2 seed, the number 2 Division 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you made a great run, went on, were the Regional 4 regional champions, and then you were a state semifinalist and lost out to Stratford 1-0, I think it was, right?
Yes, 1-0.
In state semifinal. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had an incredible season coming off from the season before that, not quite doing what we wanted to do. We had, a lot of freshman starters, and now this was their sophomore year. So they got a full year under their belt playing together in the 23 season. So last season went really well. We were definitely the underdogs a lot of the time. People really counted us out, but our girls stepped up huge. And we were 16-8-3. And of those 8 losses, when we go to Dallas tournament, to the Georgetown tournament, of those 8 losses, about 6 of them all went to a regional final game or a regional appearance that year as well. So they weren't just, 8 losses. They were great quality teams that we played that made it far as well. And so that being said, we have around 17 returners, 2 coming back from injury from ACLs from that season right before playoffs. And our team was able to step up and fill those spots to get us so far. But we're excited for this season and the returners. And they're ready to work and ready to finish it out all the way.
Yeah. So, and that was the interesting piece, right? I think as good and solid of a program as it is, you were a bit on the young side last year because you returned. Was it 17 or 19? Was it 17?
Yeah, 19 with our pull-up players.
Gotcha. Okay, so either way, 17 or 19, but then you return 8 starters from last year as well. So you're not going anywhere this year, right? A year of experience, and you make a run to the state semifinal. So
yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Yeah. So tell us, did you feel like in your heart of hearts, if you're being completely honest, did last year's squad? You have high expectations, high standards, no doubt, and the goal is to be in a state semifinal, in a state final in Georgetown. But did you feel like last year you were maybe not surprised, but maybe a year ahead of schedule?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think we halfway through season, all teams have up and downs, but really saw a little spark there. But, we always want to believe we're going to state every year. We're going to win it. But truly, I mean, the girls really pulled it off and they worked so hard. It was such a close knit team. When we did lose those starters to injury or setbacks, there was always someone ready to go. That was quite surprising to me. But it was all the girls getting that far. And I think they were surprised as well.
Your biggest, so the end of last season, you start transitioning spring, right? Spring, off season, the summer, and then into when you come back in the fall, right? That preseason in the fall, soccer class, everything.
Mhm.
What was, given last year's experience, what did you know was different? Everybody you had coming back, what was different? What could you clearly tell was different going into this year?
Something that's definitely different is, they know what it took to get there. It wasn't just pure luck. So over the summer months too, we had the most girls showing up for strength and conditioning that we ever had this summer. More people, we do a 7v7 league with Cedar Park and with Vista Ridge and some of the other schools in Leander ISD. And we were able to put two teams together. We could have had three teams, honestly. How many girls were showing up once a week, twice a week, playing just to get some more touches on the ball? So it was definitely overwhelmingly in the summer the most work I've seen in a while from these girls put in to, realize, hey, we're coming off of this high and we want to keep it going. So that was probably one of the biggest differences that I've seen so far in the girls.
Yeah, and we start to look at this year, right? You talked about the summer, early off season, the fall, and I know you definitely have a healthy amount of club players, but through the tail end of this off season or this preseason in preparation for now that we're officially in season, but scrimmages, and then now that the season is here, live games have begun. Um, what's your take on the squad so far now that you guys have had the chance to scrimmage? I know you've scrimmaged a good bit. I think at least four scrimmages.
Mhm.
Getting ready for a tournament this weekend. As you head into your first official matches of the year, this tournament, I should say. What has stood out to you the most? What have you learned the most about your squad this year through these four scrimmages?
Definitely, we do have so many returners, and they play super well together. But other teams as well are in our district and in our area are also always still growing as well. So I would say the biggest thing over the last four scrimmages is we're getting everyone on the bench ready. Because seeing from last season, everyone has to be ready to step up. And so getting that playing time, playing with someone different that might not be a returner or got a lot of minutes last year is now learning to play with those starters. And so that's really my goal in the scrimmages is to come out healthy, get everyone minutes, and learn how to play our playing style so that when we're going into, this new year when games are starting to count, everyone has played with each other in some type of scrimmage outside of practice. So that's really my main focus. And they've done really well with the new people, with returners playing maybe in different positions that we didn't have last year. There's a lot of them that are versatile, so we're trying to see what fits best this year with this new team.
Gotcha. Rafa?
Coach, going into this year, how do you feel you're prepared for going into District 25 6A? I know you have Ron Rock, you have Westwood, Vista Ridge. How do you guys feel about this year?
Yeah, no, I mean, I never want to jump the gun and be like, yes, like we have a running to be first or second. Our district is extremely tough. Round Rock, Westwood, I know Cedar Ridge and Hutto and Vista Ridge, they all have committed players to D1, D2 schools, and their teams are growing as well. And so I never want to say, this is our shoe in again to, maybe win district. But we have a good shot this year, and I think a lot of people know it, so they're just going to play us a little bit harder, which is good and bad. But no, I love our district and the coaches, but game after game, especially in girls soccer, the scores don't reflect what is shown sometimes, or there's random people that will get hurt and adjust, and then people win and lose. And, game of soccer, you never can count on winning a game ever. So
Right.
I'm excited for this season, though, with our
Yeah.
district.
Yeah. And the one of the great things about your story from your squad last year, coach, was that I mean, I think going across the board 4A to 6A, you all might, and I mean this as a compliment, but I think you all might have been the lowest district finisher and 2 seed, right, to make it
Mhm.
to a state semifinal, to make it to state. So, I mean, that just goes to prove that, hey, anything can happen, especially when you get in that. There's a reason why we call it the second season, right? So,
Yeah.
um, what was it about last year where you felt where everything clicked at the right time at the tail end of district play, and as you got it going into the state playoffs? What do you think it was? What was the magic piece where it kind of finally, because you want to be, obviously you want to be in peak performance in March and April, not necessarily December, January. So is there any one or two things that really stood out to you that, hey, this was the difference?
Um, gosh. Some of our games, from last season to even the year prior, with those freshmen, now sophomores, now juniors, you saw it click almost instantly, whether it was just 1-0 games. Now we were winning 3-0, and it's kind of got them that confidence throughout the season. But I think truly when everyone bought in, um, we lost a starter the last district game to Round Rock, our center back. And I think everyone kind of was like, you know what? We're going to go out, play Westlake. We played them in the first round. We're going to go out. We're going to give it our all. And, try our best. And after we beat them in PKs, I really think they saw what we saw the whole season of, you can do this. You know, the people that stepped up played huge parts. And after Westlake, I think everything after that was like, oh, we can play at that next level. We aren't the underdog anymore. We aren't. So that win really, I think, truly carried us all the way to our last game, was after that Westlake in round one.
Gotcha. Now, do they get the sense, obviously, what you all accomplished last year? Do you get the sense from them that they feel like there's now a target on their back being a state semifinalist, or is it like they don't really get it, they don't care kind of thing? In addition to maybe the message, the expectations, what you're preaching, where are you all at with that?
I think we have a really good head on our shoulders of girls, people that are really realistic of like, we had a great season, but the year prior to that, we might have not have gotten what we accomplished. And so made them more hungry for wins and work ethic. And, I think really our girl, this juniors, seniors. They're incredible leaders, hard workers. I don't think they take anything lightly, in practice, and the little things. We preach a lot of touching the line is one of my biggest things. And they remind kids every single day, their teammates, JV, freshmen, other seniors, every little thing. And so we kind of ingrained, the little details matter, to get that success of a season. And so I really think these girls know how big of a target they have, and they're anxious to start playing in games, obviously, next week, or, oh my gosh, Thursday and Friday, versus these big schools. But I think they're ready for the competition. I think they're ready to actually start showing the hard work they've been putting in. But
Mhm.
to answer your question, no, I think they know they have a big target, but they truly do know how much work they've put in so far to get where they need to be.
That's awesome. Good deal. Yeah, student athletes that are listening out here right now, the little things, coaches harp on them for a reason. They matter. I mean, coach, I'm no different. I was yelling at my girls today for not lining up their shoes a certain way, right? So, or their cleats, I should say. So that should tell you something, right? So, the little things pay off big down the road. So,
Mhm.
now tell us. You mentioned this weekend, right? Tell us your first set of games, showcase event where you're at. Tell who you're playing. Take us through that.
Yeah, so we are going to the Andy Studley Memorial Showcase up in Wiley. And it's put on by Wiley and Wiley East. great coaches, great community, stadiums. They're bringing in Lovejoy, and we've played Allen there, and Saxe, and all these big schools return every single year. And it's great competition. You never leave Dallas 3-0 ever. And so it's good. Our record never looks great, but we play the teams that are going to state finals or the regional or state semis every single year. And so it's a great little taste of what that final look like, what it looks like to be there. And then we go to Georgetown the following week for that showcase, and we're playing Allen, San Angelo Central, and EP Franklin. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay. El Paso Franklin. That's
yes.
I used to live about a quarter of a mile down from that school when I lived in El Paso. So yeah, I'll have to tell you an interesting story about that offline as well. So
Okay.
great story. No, it's a good story. It's a good story.
Yeah.
But and it would have been where my daughter would have gone to school had I stayed in El
Oh,
Paso.
wow.
But yeah, pretty small world. But
Yeah.
yeah. The El Paso schools, they'll give you a different look in terms of style. And
Mhm.
so yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good for you guys to see for sure.
Yeah, we're excited. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so now we start looking at bigger scale, Coach. Region 4. Tell us, we talk a little bit about your district already, but as it pertains beyond your district, right? You look at Region 4, you look at the landscape. What are your thoughts? What can you share with the other people that are listening on here, the other regions, your thoughts on Region 4?
We definitely have a strong district, but our by districts are just as hard. Like Travis is always a great school, Dripping Springs, Westlake, outside of our district. But, Johnson, Claudia Taylor Johnson, that's where I went to school. Their soccer team's doing really well. And even San Antonio Reagan as well. Those teams have been building, and historically back when I was in high school, like those were really good schools, and the San Antonio schools are really starting to explode as well,
Hmm.
and building year after year, getting deeper into the playoffs.
Yeah. So yeah, I did. As soon as you said that, I was like, "That's right. She was a Jag. I forgot about that."
It
Yeah. So
was, yeah.
yeah. So anytime soon, you're gonna make your way back down this way to the greater San Antonio area. You can try to sneak
I
away.
don't know. I don't know. I really love the Austin area.
Right.
I
Put
mean,
you on the spot
living
there.
up here in Cedar Park and Leander, it's
Yeah.
really, I don't really classify as like an Austinite in downtown. I
Yeah.
stay up here, and I really like the suburbs and the hills. It reminds me of old San Antonio growing up back then
Yeah.
before it started building all the highways and getting so busy
Right.
with all the
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Rafa, you back with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
All right. You got anything
So,
else for Coach?
um, Coach, as far as being having the Vanderbilt program, we can how do the players, the expectations every year, when someone new coming into your program, what are the expectations for them?
well, we set a standard, which is actually our motto this year, is set the standard. Over the years, I was the assistant coach over Cheris LaChapelle before I became the head coach here, and she did a fantastic job of developing this standard that I got to watch and work with, and so we kind of carried that on and made it our own. And so coming in, the girls know we work really hard. Day in and day out. We have weights, we have conditioning. We barely touch the ball at the beginning of season because we're going to train really hard at the start. We have fitness tests. You have to pass a fitness test to stay on our soccer teams. We have a juggling test. We do a training camp that's like boot camp that everyone has to go through and know the history of our program. So with current players and alumni and old coach as well, we've really set this standard of, from our best player to maybe not our greatest player, seniors, freshmen, everyone has to carry their weight. And so coming in, it's intimidating, especially the freshmen. They always think, they're never safe. And, they work hard, and they're presently surprised how easy it is to commit when everyone else is working with you. There's not one person that's going to slack off every day. And so The culture that we've built is awesome because of the community and everyone just setting that standard together. No days off, working really hard. So,
Awesome. Coach, a couple more questions for you before we get you out of here. But so one, one I like to ask coaches, right, is in an ideal world, in a perfect setting, coaches, we'd love to brag on each and every one of our kids, right? But if you could tell us maybe about one or two of your players that maybe the state of Texas doesn't know about, but should, right? And maybe it's an up and comer, not a quite known, highly heralded player or something. Tell us, maybe I'm sure you have a couple of them on your roster, right? But maybe one or two that come to mind that, hey, they're coachable, they do the right things, they're incredibly just gifted, but maybe not that many people know about them. Is there any you can tell us about?
yeah, I mean, my junior class, I've had those since freshman year, and I feel like I could talk about all of them. They're truly a super talented class. I have a senior that's committed. Um, Obviously, really good seniors as well there, but my junior Eva Pinsamiento, she's a fantastic player. She got the all district second from Tasco, all state, offensive for our district MVP. As a junior, she was in the running as freshman of the year too for her sophomore year, or no, sorry, freshman year. She has a couple looks from colleges, but she understands the game like no one I've ever seen at this level. And she just works so hard, and her size surprises people how technical she is, but she can, any part of the 18-yard box, she can take a shot and place it perfectly. So she's a huge, strong asset to us that we are lucky to have for the 3 years. And she's not committed. I know she's talking with a few people, but I mean, she's a fantastic player in person. And then, as well as our goalkeeper, I've had for 3 years on varsity as well, Kyla Jones. So athletic, naturally understands the game. And there's some saves that coaches come up to me after games and say, I don't know how she saved that, but she saved that. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. She keeps us in the game, and she is the most calm person under pressure. Calm. People say she's intimidating. She's soft spoken, but loud enough for her outside and center backs to hear. But man, she is a lethal force in our goal. So calm, so experienced as a junior. So those two just instantly come to mind. Of these are huge players on our team that I don't know where we'd be without either one of them.
And these are juniors or seniors?
Juniors, yeah.
Juniors. Okay, awesome. So it was Ava Pensamiento and Lila Jones. Is that what you said?
Eva, EVA, and then Kyla Jones.
Gotcha. Kyla Jones. Awesome. College coaches, get on that. Reach out to the Coach Sawyer as well. I know some people think that college coaches somehow can only speak to club coaches, but high school coaches, you got to step into that. You got to embrace that as well. That's a part of our job. So thank you for mentioning that, Coach. Really appreciate that. One final question for you, Coach, before we give you the floor. So going to put you on the spot again here. So finish this sentence. The 2025-2026 Austin Vandegrift Vipers women's soccer season will be a success if
Um, if we stay healthy. I wish that for every team. If we stay healthy, we'll be good.
I like
So,
that. I like that. I like that. That's awesome. So that's my rule that I say repeatedly during scrimmages for sure. I mean, we always want our players to be healthy, obviously, but I like that.
yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So, as is customary, Coach, we want to give you an opportunity. First of all, thank you for joining us. Your accessibility finally got you on here after multiple false starts. But so, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you, especially during the holiday season. And so, want to wish you a belated Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I know you'll be in the thick of it, just like I will in a couple of days as well. So, safe travels to and from. Want to make sure you guys are healthy. But before we let you go, want to give you the opportunity to give you the floor and share any shout outs, thank yous, anything that's on your mind, any messages as it relates to our game, your team, your program, your school. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, just for having me out here. I mean, the first thing I would say for me being here, connecting with our Austin coaches at Tasco, and even at THSCA this summer, getting the opportunity to speak and meet more people that I would have never met, um, not in my district in Region 1 and Region 2 that come out there. Connection is key, and sharing experiences and how does your team do certain things, I think, is the biggest thing in our community of growth, especially in soccer. Our Austin soccer players are growing so much. We have so much quality coaches here at high school levels now, and working with club and balancing club. Just excited for this whole, next 5-10 years of high school soccer and how much it's growing so fast. And just shout out to Vandergrift High School and the community, and especially my district. I don't know where I'd be without those coaches learning and growing. Being a first time head coach at Vandergrift, I've learned a lot from a lot of my mentors at Vandergrift, at Round Rock, at Westwood, at Lake Travis, at Leander High School, Vista Ridge. All of us are one big happy family, and I think that directly affects the kids. And so we just have fantastic players, and Austin is amazing. And that's all I can say is we have great people here, and you guys do an amazing job at letting us use this platform to talk about our kids and highlight our programs. And you guys are helping us grow it every single day, every single soccer season. So thank you guys so much as well.
Yeah. Well said, Coach. Well, I mean, all of it, not us. I mean, all of it, but well said. But yeah, I think, one of the things that stood out to me, I meant, I mentioned this to a few Austin coaches, is that I think it was either my first or second year at Tasco covering the convention with a podcast. And somehow I found myself at a table with all Austin coaches, right? So there's all Austin coaches, and then there's one San Antonio guy right there, right? And it was awesome. But what I quickly picked up on was just the relationship, respect, and camaraderie that all the Greater Austin coaches have for one another. And how they embrace that, how they fully step into that. It's pretty awesome. Obviously you guys are, competing against each other, but it's none of that is a personal piece in terms of each. I think you guys get it, and that's an awesome thing to see. That's a special thing to see, and I think just about every Austin coach I speak with, every coach from the Greater Austin area, speaks about that. And I think that's a pretty special thing. So I hope you guys work to, one, you have a special thing collectively as a community there. And two, I just hope that you guys realize that and protect that, because that's an awesome
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and what's really cool is at the end of the season, whether you're in the state final or semis, you'll see all of us sitting together in the press box or sitting and meeting up to go watch 3 or 4 games together, whether our teams are playing or not. And, you know, kids see that in their coaches and how much they love and support everyone else's success. So it's really special, and I really appreciate where I am and those around me.
Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, she is Coach Caitlin Sawyer, the head women's soccer coach of the Austin Vandergrift Vipers. Coach, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you the best of luck this season. Hopefully you can make a even deeper run than last year. And look forward to, again, as you already know, I've mentioned this to Will as well, that big fan of you and what you're doing out there. So keep up the great work, and thank you for your time.
Thank you guys so much.
Take care, Coach. Have a good one.
Coach.
Awesome. So that is Coach Caitlin Sawyer of Austin Vandergrift. Really appreciate her for joining us. Key takeaways, anything stand out to you, Coach? I know you're still battling through the audio-video technical difficulties, but from what you were able to listen to, thoughts?
Just a great program. Like I said, finishing in third in that district, it's tough. Like I said,
Right.
Round Rock does get a lot of, kind of been to kind of the talk. Like I said, Vanderbilt's also built a great program, and then you have Westwood. But just to come out of that district, get a big, I think I forgot, I guess to ask is, how does it feel playing against your first round game against a 26-6A team? And that's a tough task, because one game could pretty much end your season there, especially the quality of soccer that district has too. But like you mentioned, that one little win, that key win, I guess, against Westlake really propelled them to make that run. And we've seen a couple of teams that have done that. They get that one little signature win in the playoffs, and then they just roll with it and then go on to, like I said, to the state finals.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think she hit on so many great things, and so great to you hear her speak and the things that she hits on, and she's still incredibly young too, and but yet highly experienced, and yeah, just a great head on her shoulders, and it reflects. It shows her program is just a reflection of her. So, big kudos, special thanks to Coach Sawyer for joining us. But we are going to transition here now, Coach. We're going to go ahead. We're going to jump into Region 3 and Region 4 talk. You with me, Coach? Can you hear me?
I can hear.
All right, good deal. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at. We're gonna start off with 4A Region 3 here. So let me stop sharing here for a second. Um, so okay, so let me try this again. So not cooperating here. So all right, 4A Region 3. All right. So your initial thoughts here, Coach. Uh, we have District through District 24. Thoughts on these?
I guess we can start with the girls' side. Some quality programs. If you can look, you know, if you look at District 22 with Bay City, they've been a team that's been kind of like knocking on the door um, to come out of this region. But then you also have the one that's kind of been dominant for the girls' side has been the Lumberton girls. They've kind of made it their goes to their region. Um, but then you have some other programs that are kind of creeping up a bit, like Needville. Needville had they're starting to make some noise. Um,
Yeah.
Same
Go ahead.
thing over
Continue,
there.
Coach.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm
yeah.
gonna try to. I'm trying to blow this up full screen, and it's not cooperating. Go ahead. Continue.
But like I said, those are kind of your two kind of your top notch girls programs. But I think they even same thing with the boys. You have, like I said, the Lumberton boys had a great run last year. Um, I think the Nevo boys also are making noise, and then you had Navasota who made it to state a couple years ago. Fell a little short this year, but I'm hearing some good things about them. I think they may be up for another run this year. You also have teams like El Campo. El Campo, like I said, they're one of our dark horse teams. Um, you also look at uh, I'm trying to see Sealy. That's a good team to kind of keep an eye on. So a lot of quality teams come in from that region. From that region 3 for 4.
Gotcha. All right. Here we go. I think we're finally good here. So, all right. There we go. So, all right. We move on to 4A. All right. 4A Region 4, so District 25 through District 32. Again, if you're joining us, we covered in episode 3 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, we covered both Regions 1 and 2. So we're looking at the other half of the state of Texas here today. So starting with 4A. 4A Region 4, Coach, these are a lot of schools that we are definitely very familiar with in our area. Thoughts on this?
Well, girls side, the dominant district's been 26 4A. We had two teams from the girls side make the state finals with Wimberley and Davenport. Davenport, falling short to a real close game with Salina, and Wimberley losing in PKs to Canyon Randall. I'm sure they're expected again to make deep runs again for both D1 and D2. But I would also keep an eye on Canyon Lake. They could be that spoiler, you
Mm-hmm.
know, even I guess especially for Division Two. But then also you have Lavernia. Lavernia's made a great run last year. Like I said, they fell short to that Davenport. They've really built a really good program there. Um, and then Cal Allen, like I said, Cal Allen a few years ago had their run, so you can't always count them out. Boys side, Austin Achie, what a year they had. Being the first charter school to win a state title. I'm sure they have a target on their back this year. But like I said, I kind of expect them to make another run. But they're in that district too. You have, I think, Austin Northeast too. I think you forgot to add them on there. Keep an eye on them. Like I said, when they moved down to 5A to 4A, I know they split the season series last year. Just fell a little short. I think the Davenport boys should have a good season this year. Same thing with the Lavernia boys. They had a deep run last year. And then you look in the valley, you had some powerhouses with Hidalgo. Um, you also have what's it called, Far Valley View, uh, also that good team from Corpus Christi, London. They've had some great squads, and then Progresso. We'll see what they'll do as far as bouncing back from what happened this past year.
Yeah, and so the one that immediately stands out to us, obviously, so we look at, and it can kind of depend on which side of the house you're talking about, right? Whether it's boys or girls,
Mhm.
but immediately standing out to us, you look at District 25 on the boys' side, the reigning state champions, right? That made all kinds of history last year in Austin Achieve. But then you look at the one that really catches a lot of people's eye here that's got a lot of talk. You look at District 26 on the girls' side, had not one but two district representatives playing in Georgetown in Birkelbach last year in state championships. So a lot of people on the girls' side, we've talked about this, right, Coach? A lot of people big, really big on really big on Comel on Canyon Lake, and you talked about that a little bit. Be kind of curious to see what kind of goes on there, what transpires there. I'm big on this Wimberley squad too. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later, this girls' side. So I think they'll be even better this year. So how that transpires will be interesting. So thoughts on anything else here, Coach?
Yeah, and I also forgot to mention Burnett girls. They've made some noise the last few years too, especially in that District 25 5A. I know they had some changes. I think coaching changes recently. We'll see how that turns out for them. And then I know that Georgetown Gateway girls team is also they've had some really good records, but they've kind of fell short in that first round game. Are they going to be able to kind of break through and also make a run as well?
Yeah. Yeah. And big shout out to Harry joining us on here, as well as Hikin talking about the Frisco Dr. Pink tournament where they'll be shooting this weekend. Lots of games, great stuff, good support of our high school. First big weekend of 3 weekends here in for Texas high school soccer. All right, so we move on. 5A Region 3. Thoughts on this, Coach?
Yeah, you got some stacked teams on there. You got Baytown Sterling, Barbers Hill, PNG, Port Neches Grove, great programs for the boys side. The surprise was Angleton. Angleton made that run,
Yeah,
losing,
yeah.
in the state semifinals, San Antonio Southwest. Um, but you also have some good sneaky teams like the Houston Sharpstown team. Rosenberg Terry, like I said, there are my RPIs last year. Like I said, just kind of a little full short. Full shares another. Is this 5A or 6A? Yeah, 5A. Okay. Yeah,
This is
because I
5A.
thought that's
That's 5A.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Then you have full share. My buddy, Coach um, over there, Trevino. He's got a great program there. Hopefully, it breaks through this year. Um, like I said, you also have some great other teams like the Magnolia teams. Lake Creek, like I said, was a dark horse.
Yeah, they were on
Keep an eye
your
on the boys.
name to your dark horse list last week.
Yep.
Or earlier this
Yep.
week, I should say.
And then Waco University boys, they got a sneaky good program as well for an and consolidate. But then also District 23 is just a tough one for the boys too. You have Georgetown, Eastview, Conley last year. I guess a couple years ago had a good run last year. This year, that little rebuilding, but I think they're back again this year. So overall, it's a tough district for boys side, but girls side, you got some quality teams. I think the key game last year was that Austin Anderson Georgetown game, that first round game, and it was a
Right.
shame that one had to be eliminated because those are two teams that could easily be your regional finalists or go into the final four.
Yeah.
Um, so keep an eye on those two teams again this year. Um, Hendrickson's another one. They've had some history, going deep in the playoffs, getting to state. A&M consolidated the girls, great season. They finally got that state title. I think they probably want more. I don't know how that target on their back. They're gonna kind of, like I said, it's gonna be interesting when they play the girls team from Lake Creek as well, and then the PNG girls as well. They had a great season last year. So very, like I said, very tough. Like I said, tough region here because you got some high quality state ranked teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. All right, we move on. All right, so here we go. We move on. Region 4.
For the girls' side, I guess the ones who kind of been ruling the roost has been District 25 and 26. Yeah. I think
So
we've
some of these are clearly outdated as well as we're looking at
yeah
them. So let me go in and pull up the correct ones because these
sure.
are not, for whatever reason, it's just that today the graphics are just simply not cooperating. Go ahead, continue, Coach.
Yeah, so those, like I said, for girls' side, it's been the 25A, 2026A showcase. Out of those two districts, whoever wins their playoff game's been, we've had a representative win the region from one of those two districts. And then, with the girls' teams, is the gap going to be closed this year? Like I said, Smithson Valley, like I said, the girls had a great run last year. Can they repeat it again and finally get, like I said, win the state championship? But you also have the Piper girls, great program there. Um, I know they had a coaching change this year, but I think they'll be ready to go. Then, like I said, Bernie girls, they surprised a lot of people moving up from 4A to
Hmm.
5A. Said they had a great season. And then you look at 25 5A, you know, uh, Cedar Park, taking down the Kukui. I mean, enough said for them. And like I said, I think they probably want, like I said, maybe some more this year. Like I said, I think I think they'll be have a good shot to repeat again. But then on the other team of the district, keep an eye on Lockhart because I got to see them play last year. That's a team that's coming up and rising. They got some talent there, so they're, I think, a couple years away from really kind of being a contender. And then on the other girls' side, you do have some great teams in the valley like McAllen Memorial. They've been, like I said, kind of the top two teams there for the Valley girls.
Hmm.
Boys' side, you got some, like I said, great teams. I mean, with 25, you have, like I said, Liberty Hill winning the state title. Leander Glen's been a very dominant program. Um, Same thing with the boys' side. You have the Piper boys. They gave a really good game to Southwest last year. Cincinnati Valley's, like I said, year in year out, always contending. We'll see if Coach Strong there, Bernie. Like I said, he made. Like I said, not going up to 5, it didn't phase them. That's a team to kind of keep
No,
an eye
no.
on. Keep an eye on this year. And then you have Southwest. Southwest, the great run last year, getting to the final, just falling short against Walnut Grove. Can they repeat that? This year, like I said, they are going to have more of a target on the back. And I think teams might be a little bit more prepared, but I think they have a good opportunity to win the region. And then you look at the Valley. 32 5A. You got some great programs. I actually got the pleasure to see Brownsville Porter play, who actually did beat Southwest in a scrimmage. It was a very competitive game. Really keep an eye on them. And also have Brownsville Lopez, another great program. Also with Rivera, I think they're going to try to bounce back. And then 31's got some good teams too. Sherryland, good Sherryland. You also have Juarez Lincoln from La Jolla.
Yeah, 5A is just simply put, it's just stacked, right? In terms of the quality of or the quantity of the quality, right? Is what I called it last year. So, 6A may be the biggest schools, but when you look at just the depth of quality, it's probably at 5A, right? So pretty amazing stuff. So that does it for Region 3 and Region 4. 5A, we're gonna shift gears here now, and then we'll look at 6A. We'll start with Region 3 here, Coach. Go ahead.
Region 3, what are you going to say about District 19? That's when you have Seven Lakes, you have Taylor, Tompkins, and Jordan. Um, you know, even like I said, every once in a while we've had even a Morton Ranch, a Sickle Ranch. Those are you got to bring your A game in that district. They've kind of, like I said, they've had some great programs run through Region 3 and represent Region 3. But then you also have, District 20 with Ailey Flelsick. They've been a great program, year in, year out. Houston Straight Jesuits, another team to keep an eye on.
Alsek,
Like I said,
Alsek made a great run, a return
yeah.
to former glory last year. Had a great run last year.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, those are, and then you have Friendswood. Like I said, the Friendswood area, like Deer Park, another great program. You have Humboldt Kingwood, Addis Cosita. So like I said, lots of quality teams here in Region 3, even though, like I said, District 19's been kind of the one that's been, kind of been the dominant, even with Club with L6 with 20, but still, it's still you have to, be aware, each game that you can't take teams lightly. So very, very great programs. And then same thing with the girls side. Like I said, the KD Seven Lakes girls, they've been great. Like I said, you had Houston Stratford last year, made it to the final last year. Can they do another repeat performance? Then you have Ridge Point. Ridge Point's been a
Right.
very consistent program. Like I said, that can easily win Region 3 for the girls too as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and they struggled there to finally break through the regional final up until a couple of years ago, and they've been, yeah, you're right, but they're just in that mix for sure. So, all right, we move on to our final region, 6A, Region 4. What stands out to you here, Coach?
So girl side, like I said, well, boys and girls side, the the one that's been dominant has been the Austin area. The Austin area has been the one that's been representing Region 4 the last few years. And the Coach Lahr mentioned about, the quality of Austin players the programs have gone up. Is San Antonio finally be able to, for the 6As, are they starting to kind of close that gap? And I hopefully, like I said, maybe we'll see that this year. Some hopeful teams, like she mentioned about the girls, like the Reagan girls. Like I said, keep an eye on them. Also, the Johnson girls, like I said, her alma mater. But then you also have some great programs in District 28. Keep an eye on that O'Connor team. Like I said, I had the pleasure to see them play against Austin at Henderson. Very competitive game, very great game. Then you also have some like I said, like I say, you have Vandergrift, you have Round Rock, Westwood. You know, like I said, just a tough district. Then you also throw in the mix with Westlake, uh, Dripping Springs. Don't get, like I said, keep an eye on the Dripping Springs girls. Like I said, it's like I said, when are we going to see that gap close between us first on the girls' side? You know, San Antonio represent Region 4. Same thing with the boys, kind of the usual suspects for the Vandergrift boys going deep. Uh, same thing with like I said, like Travis has done well in the past. Dripping Springs has made some surprise runs. The buzz right now is the Reagan boys. Are they going to be able to take that next step and be the first team? Like it's be one of those San Antonio teams that actually goes out and wins the region. Another surprise team is Harlan. Harlan kind of had a little setback last year. And they bounced back this year, but also another major team in their district, Warren and O'Connor. Like so, O'Connor had a big, by district win over a really good uh, Brandeis team last year. And then you look at 29 6A. Shirts Clemens made a deep run last year for the boys. Um, Laredo's got some real competitive, you know, programs. You look at United Alexander. I know Del Rio went too deep last year, and then like I said, down there, Los Fresnos is another program that also to keep an eye on, and also the Annenberg teams.
Gotcha. Good deal. Any sleepers or additional just dark or not dark horses, but teams to maybe keep your eye on that you're big on personally that maybe aren't on the dark horse list, but you could maybe classify as a sleeper or could really shake things up that aren't quite on the dark horse list here yet. Region 3, Region 4.
I think maybe I know they went three deep last year. Is that Clemens teams? One thing with Clemens, if you ever look at their schedule, they don't shy away from playing some of these state ranked teams, and they've beaten some state ranked teams up in the Dallas area.
Right.
Could they build upon what they did last year and knock off one of those Austin area teams to get into that regional final and maybe get into? I think that's a team to really kind of keep an eye on. We'll see can they, like I said, what they built, what they did last year, can they build upon that? Um, don't count out the Valley. I would also keep an eye on, last year we had a year before we had Edinburgh North, get to the regional final. They knocked off a really good Johnson team, a surprise, even though they lost to Vandergrift. Last year it was at Conomides. Um, those are two teams that really kick butt on because normally the Brownsville area kind of gets more of the push, but Edinburgh's really kind of established themselves in soccer. Especially with those two programs, but also the Los Fresnos boys. they don't shy away as far as playing tough games early on. That's another team that if they can get hot and if things go well for them, they could be one of those teams that represents Region 4 from the Valley.
Awesome. Great stuff. That is going to do it. We're going to wrap up with that. Does it for our region preview. That's a lot to go over there, Coach. So good adjustment to our graphics that just were not cooperating here. So appreciate that. Any additional thoughts? You look back across the, whether it be 4A, 5A, 6A, Region 3, Region 4, any additional stuff?
Just like I said, we're kind of looking. What I'm kind of looking forward to see, especially like in 4A, especially the girls side of Region 4 is like Canyon Lake. I'm very kind of dying to see what they do,
right?
Because like I said, that's the team that's had it's getting a lot of buzz, and they've been knocking on the door. Like I said, they always play. They've had a sneaky good, wins against, Wimberley or Davenport. Even when Bernie was there at the time too, a couple years ago, it was a dogfight, and like I said, is that one team that's finally gonna, I guess, take that next step and, not, we'll see what Wimberley brings back, because I think those two teams are probably in collision course to get to that regional final, and maybe this is a year that, maybe we have two Comal ISD teams get into to a final.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, that'll be interesting just because, I think Wimberley will be there as advertised. They'll be better than last year, and Canyon Lake looks like they might have could have, if things line up well for them, everything that we're hearing, things we've seen, they could have their best squad that they've had in program history. So, some exciting stuff there as well. So, all right, that is going to do it for our region preview talk. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're going to come back shortly with RPI talk as Rafa unveils his initial RPI for the 2025-2026 season. But first, a quick word from our partners. In the market for a new home, or maybe you'd just like to get more information? Then let us tell you about our new proud partner and title sponsor, Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, your go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move I've got your six approach, you focus on the move while she handles the contracts, the deadlines, and even the details. Want a realtor who works like you and fights for you? Then you need to visit Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no-pressure strategy session. Again, that's Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, as well as at 737-210-5812. And then there are our great friends at Gipper. Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 4,000 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality, visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have significant experience in this process, then this is designed for you as well, as you are what they call the power user. Listeners of the 50/50 podcast can now receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. All right, and we are back with episode 4, season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. Again, I'm your host, Coach Hector Cano, joined by my lovely sidekick and Coach Rafa Casorena. Coach, just about that time. You ready? You look a little nervous to me, RPI. You ready? Yeah?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
But before we do that, let me tell you real quick again, just a big shout out, special thanks to a special shout out and thanks to this episode, which is brought to you by our proud partner and title sponsor in Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com. They are your go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move I got your six approach, you focus on the move while she handles the contracts, the deadlines, and all the details. If you want a realtor who works like you and fights for you, then you need to visit TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no-pressure strategy session. Again, that is Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com. All right. We need the drum roll here. So, all right. Get us going here. All right. The initial unveiling of, we're going to start with the girls' side here. So, the RPI Initial RPI here, Coach. Take it away.
Yeah, the girls one's always it's always the girls because you got so many quality teams and they had to kind of be at the gas station, coin flips and stuff to make some of these decisions. But like I said, but this is my preseason, list. Kind of doing the research. It's kind of based, majority of kind of what they did last year, but also what they're going to also see what they're doing this year, what kind of schedules they have, and also, predictions from me, I guess, from some other, coaches and so forth. So came up with this list here. I think I'm going to see it on the screen. There we go.
There we go. All right. Rafa, can you hear us? You looks like you might have frozen on us. So, all right, while we wait for Rafa to join us, and I'm going to go ahead and take us through this initially. So, looks like he continues to battle audio video difficulties there. But so big thing is, let's see, looks like we might have him back here. So, Rafa, can you hear us? Today's the day. It is literally the end of the year. You can tell. Have him remove him here. So, all right. So while we wait on Rafa to join us, so I'm going to take us through our girls RPI list here of the the 2025-2026 inaugural season. Here our RPI list. So typically, how we do this, if you're new to this, we mentioned this at the start of the show. We rate, or Rafa will rates essentially his top 15 in the state, regardless of classification. So this is truly kind of a pound for pound power ratings list, both on the boys' side and the girls' side. So 4A, 5A, 6A does not matter as he adds these in here. So, and what he does is, so he factors in obviously how you ended the year, pedigree, talking with coaches, all right, who's back in terms of returners, just overall returning letter winners, as well as returning starters as well. And I think we got them here. You with us, Rafa?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. That's the bad tower here, here in Del Rio.
Yeah.
So
No.
I'll go over like I said. So my number one selection is going to be Salina.
Yeah, take us through the first
four
five here. Take us through the first five.
First five, yeah. So Salina's number one. Like I said, they won 4 in a row. They're going to go for the thumb before possibly, I guess, more likely moving up to 5A. Number two, I have A&M Consolidated. What a great year they had last year. And then number three, Capel. Number four, Cedar Park. And number five, Louisville Marcus.
Gotcha. So, all right, here, let me move this guy here. So, okay, so Salina, not a shocker. They're at one. I think the big one that that steamrolled everybody and really surprised so many people, right? And they had a just historic season, one for the books in A&M Consolidated, right? How do they follow that up this year, right? Capel is Capel, seeing them clinch last year, win a state title in a great, great final, and they graduated a good amount of talent, right? So how do they follow that up this year? Cedar Park saw them, and they'll be. I'll talk about them later in our top moments. But yeah, I think what they did, what Coach Poole was able to accomplish there last year with a great, as they made a historic run and a tremendous final. How do they follow that up? Also graduated a lot of talent, right? So how do they follow that up with now the target on their back as they are the reigning state champions, and then another state champion in Marcus as well. So, all right, Coach, take us through our 6 through 10.
6 through 10, I have Kenyon Randall. Like I say, defending a 4A division, division 2. Frisco Wakeland. I think they're going to bounce back. On a little tough loss against Cedar Park, but you can never count them out. And then you have Lake Travis, and you were at that game, and you mentioned that the score didn't reflect on the actual game, and I think they're in store. I think also for another deep run. Then number 9, I have Davenport, just fellow game short. Could this be the year? Maybe maybe they meet up with Salina again. Because like I said, it was a close game, and maybe it could be the year they finally knock them off. And number 10, Colleyville Heritage. Like I said, just another story program, year in, year out. makes deep runs in the playoffs.
Right, right. And Canyon Randall, great, fresh off their state title, their victory over Wimberley in penalties. It's almost blasphemy to see Frisco Wakeland on an RPI this low, right at 7. I don't think I've ever seen them this low. So, how do they bounce back, right? We had Coach Langford on here last episode. I think they're going to be just fine. Just when you look at everything he's got returning, the experience, and then as we talked about, the only thing scarier than just in general, a Frisco Wakeland squad is a pissed off Frisco Wakeland squad. So I know they got that chip on their shoulder as you talked about. So how do they return? Lake Travis, right? The Fighting Will Maloney's, I think they'll be better this year. Just a matter of because you know how sometimes more talent or more experience coupled with that talent, that does not necessarily always equate to making a deeper run. Sometimes things have to fall your way, right? Depending upon where you qualify for the state tournament, the state playoffs, and excuse me. And then just how certain things kind of break your way, the draw that you get. Sometimes there's an upset in there somewhere, things go your way, or in individual matches, right? Certain things have to go your way. So yeah, so how do they respond to making a deep run into the state final last year? Davenport, right? Davenport, I got to admit, so far, seeing the early results, and granted, they're scrimmages, but still, right? I thought with what they graduated last year, I wasn't quite sure as to, we knew they would be talented, we knew they would be good, but, how would they respond to everything that they lost in terms of what they graduated? But they've been putting up some pretty eye-opening results already, right? So, could there be very little, if there is very little drop off with Davenport, they're going to have they're going to have a big say in 4A this year. And then, of course, one of our most consistent programs, right? It's like Death in Texas and Colleyville Heritage, right? Just like Frisco Wakeland in here. So seeing them at number 10 definitely will be in the mix in their district and then come postseason as well. All right, Coach, take us through our last 5 of our top 15 here.
Yeah, 11 to 15. I have Forney. Another great season for them. I think expecting some great things there for them going into 2026. I think Cave and Seven Lakes. I think they'll make another deep run there in Region 3. Wimberley, like I said, great season last year. Can they build upon that? Just a tough loss to lose the PKs. Can they get back to the final? But like I said, they're gonna have kind of look behind the shoulders, especially in Division 2 with Canyon Lake. Houston Stratford. I think they've really built a really great program there, and I think they're, I know they feel short, but I think that, this could be, if the pieces kind of fall together, I wouldn't be surprised seeing them back in Georgetown. And number 15, the surprise last year. I know they're bracketology. Nobody thought, are you going to pick them?
Oh, don't say nobody. Don't say nobody. Don't say nobody. Don't say nobody. I was banging the drum. So yeah, and what Rafa is talking about here is in Grapevine, who was in unfamiliar territory, who had a rough early season, tough district play, sneak into the playoffs, and then and of course they play in an incredibly tough district, and then immediately just create all kinds of damage. And I think, what was it, a regional final, Rafa? Did they make it to the regional final? I think, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it made for a great story. It was an absolutely phenomenal story, but I guess the switch on it all was that the fact that you looked at their record, you looked at their rough start, they weren't their traditional just powerhouse selves. So I think that experience will help them a lot this year. So yeah, you mentioned Forney, huge. That's a squad. There's a couple in here that I'm huge on this year. Forney's one of them. I think cannot be said enough. That is a team early in this process. All right, that is a squad to watch because they can stay healthy. I think they are going to be a serious player in the mix down the road. You talked about Katy Seven Lakes, Wimberley. I just mentioned that's a squad I'm big on, very big on. And so how they line up, how they match up with Canyon Lake. We talk about this too, right? Styles make fights. The matchups, how they match up with each other. Like, could it be that Canyon Lake is maybe the one squad that has Wimberley's number? I don't know, but I feel Wimberley's got the bulk of that group that, went to the state final last year back. So, and the same thing can be said with Houston Stratford, right? Losing in the state final, as we just talked about that with Coach Sawyer a little while ago. So interesting group here. All right, Coach, take us through your next 5 in here.
Region 2, and then Fort Bend, Rich Point, another program very consistent, little kind of down year last year, but I think, like I said, we can probably see them, back in Georgetown again. And then an up and comer to really keep an eye on is Red Oak. I think that's a team to really keep an eye on this year.
Yeah, I gotta give you your kudos on Red Oak. You've been big on them for a minute now, as we've been having a lot of these conversations in our meetings. So we shall see. I think I'm not disagreeing with you, but I said obviously you're going off of a little bit more data than I am. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. And yeah, Woodland squad, very consistent squad. Good to see them in here. Salado, the Blitzkrieg, right? I'm surprised you don't have them in your top 15, but we'll see, right? They'll knocking on the door. And I agree. Then you look at number 1 here in your next 5 in, rightfully so, should also be, definitely worthy of being considered in being in the top 15 of the RPI. In a Coach Jason Adkins squad at Smith and Valley, they're just so consistent, right? So consistent. Understand, they know exactly who they are, how they play, what they're about. So yeah, they're another version. I would say this, one of the best compliments I can give them. They're another version of maybe a Frisco Wakeland, to where they don't get up, they don't get too high, they don't get too low. They're just consistent as can be, and always show up for a shift. And you know that you're going to be in for a battle when you play them. So great stuff. That does it for our girls RPI. All right, and we move on. Let's unveil the boys. Coach, take it away. Tell us first 5.
First 5, I have, like I said, one of the defending state champs, Prosper Walnut Grove. They do return a lot back, and they could be one of the favorites to maybe repeat again. But I think there's another team that may have another say on that. Maybe we'll see the second the repeat of the game last year, like a kind of like Rocky 2. So we'll see. But like I said, I expect Walnut Grove to be in the mix. Klein Kane. I mean, what can you say about Klein Kane? Great story, great pro. Like I said, for all the trials and tribulations they had, and
Yeah,
to
such
finally
an
get
awesome story.
to the
Such an awesome
playoffs,
story. Yep.
and then to win it all too. Because I know that a lot of teams didn't think, people didn't think they were gonna go that far. They found a way, and I think I think they're gonna take that momentum, winning that into this season. Number 3, you got Austin Vandergriff, another great program. I know the girls get a lot of talk, but the boys, they're just as great too. Number 4, Highland Park. I know the circumstances, like I said, for what happened, losing the state title, but still, talent wise, they're still a great team, and I think I think they're going to bounce back. I think they may have a little chip on their shoulder, and I think that we could see them back in Georgetown. And then number 5, I have San Antonio Southwest. Uh, like I said, they talk the talk, they made the walk, just fell again a little game short. But like I said, I think they're looking forward to see if they can make that run again and get back to Georgetown and finally get that that state title.
Yeah, yeah, a great top 5 here. No arguments here. I mean, you can always make an argument for the order, what have you, but no arguments here. And yeah, I think you look at 1 and 5 and Walnut Grove and Southwest, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But just a phenomenal state final last year. Klein Kane, one of the stories of the year last year, no doubt. Yeah, Highland Park was also a story of one of the stories of the year last year for unfortunate reasons, but yeah, like I said, taking nothing away from what they did on the field. I know they'll be back. They'll be better than they were last year. All right, Coach, take us through 6 through 10.
So 6, I have Mesquite. Like I said, I think they really kind of made some statements last year. I think they're gonna got some good things um, coming up in 2026. Ailey Felsick, like I said, one of those year in year out. So you always hear about them being a contender. You have Dallas, one of the only 2 private schools in Texas in the competing in 6A. Like I said, year in year out. Like I said, they always, like I said, make those 2-3 deep runs, get to the regional finals. I think they'll be in play again. Angleton, I think, surprised a lot of people out of Region 3. I think they have a lot to prove this year. They show that it wasn't a fluke. Like I said, they've really kind of built a good program. And then Austin Achieve, like I said, I think they this was just the beginning. I think Austin Chiefs is going to do a lot of great things. Is there anybody in especially in Region 4, Division 2, is there a team that can knock them off?
Right.
There may be a couple teams that may challenge them, but like I said, I think they're still the favorite, to win Region 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Yeah, nothing. Excuse me. I think it was a little bit of an eye opener for me for when you saw to see where you had Mesquite at 6. I think definitely worthy of being on this list. But I was like, okay, Eli Felsick. We talk about their run that they had. Dallas Jesuit in the mix, known for having some phenomenal talent. Obviously, as a private school, Angleton really opened a lot of eyes last year on their great run. All right, historic run that they had, and then of course Austin achieved making history becoming the first public charter school to win a state title and to also be a boys program to be coached by a female coach. So all kinds of really cool dynamics here in 6 through 10 here. All right, Coach, take us through 11 through 15.
So 11-15, like I said, I have Salado. Great year for them. To win state. I think, like I said, though, I think they have a good opportunity to kind of maybe to repeat. They got some challengers coming up, but I expect good things for them. Kevin Saddle Lakes, I think that I expect them to bounce back. I know last year it's kind of an off year. They've been the staple there. Going to Georgetown in the last few years. This year they kind of fell short. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again. And then Liberty Hill, like I said, they did great run through Region 4. It was, like I said, Region 4 is tough for 5A, and for them to get to the final, in Division 2, and like I said, and able to get to win the state title, kudos to them. And then a team that I've been kind of really high on the last couple of years is really sneaking up and has been Fort Worth Castleberry. And that's one team that really, I think, could they take that next step and finally win a 4A state title. And the number 15, I'm hearing a lot of buzz in this team. I think really keep an eye that could be throw a monkey wrench this year is Plano West. Like I said, they've been a story program in the past. They've had some great players,
Correct.
Some professional players too. But I'm hearing the buzz on them that they could be one of those teams that could challenge and come out of that region.
Gotcha. So, yeah, great group here. I think the other, I talked about it on the girls' side with Frisco Wakeland. I think equal blasphemy is seeing seeing Jimmy Kruger's squad of Katy Seven Lakes at 12 on here. Might be the lowest we've ever seen them on here as well. But yeah, he's definitely righted the ship. That's a squad to keep your eye on just this year, bouncing right back in their region. Liberty Hill, how do they follow up last year's state title right under a particular set of circumstances? How do they follow that up now where you're still a marked team now? How do they handle that? Fort Worth Castleberry, they were constantly on this list last year. I remember they broke through here pretty early and they stayed on this list pretty much for the whole year. How do they follow that up? A great season last year. And I'm kind of TBD, kind of reserving my comments for Plano West just to see going off of some of the things that I've heard, but really also kind of going off of what you've had to say about them so far. So curious to see how that plays out for them. Wishing them the best of luck. All right, Coach. And now so that does it for our top 15. And now take us through our next 5 in.
Yeah. So my next 5, like I said, I have San Antonio Reagan out of Region 4. Could they be the squad to finally kind of get that breaks that Austin monopoly and finally gets a team in San Antonio for 6A to get into the Final Four? I think they have a good squad coming back. I got to see them play last year against Brandeis, and like I said, that was a great win for them. That kind of changed the trajectory in that district. They said they won their district title. Just fell a little short in the playoffs, but I think this year, they have the squad and the tools to go deep in this year. Maybe, like I said, come out of region. Another team can keep an eye on is Brownsville Lopez. They're going to be a very talented squad this year from the Valley. More likely they could come out of the Division 2, as far as section of the playoffs. Could they be one of the teams that come out from the Valley to represent, and come on and represent Georgetown? Saginaw, the buzz on Saginaw, like I said, great run last year. I had them as one of my dark horses. Really keep an eye on them. And then another team that maybe I was close to putting as a dark horse, but they had a great run last year is Gainesville. Gainesville out of nowhere, for a that's a team that really keep an eye on. Like I said, they had a
Mm-hmm.
great season last
Yeah.
year, and I think they're can they take that next step? And that's what I have them on this list. Is it's and they have an opportunity to take that next step. And then number 5, like I said, Bridgeland. I know the girls get a lot of a lot of attention, but the Bridgeland boys, I think they could be a player in Region 3 this
Yeah. Great next 5 in, great list here. Obviously, we're very familiar with the Reagan Rattlers, Brownsville Lopez. That's just a program that's synonymous with lots of success. And yeah, I mean, you look at 3 and 4 in Saginaw and Gainesville, and what do they do this year, right? How do they follow it? How do they follow up their seasons from last year? So that'll be interesting. And then a squad that I'm very big on, particularly out of these 5 here that I like personally, Bridgeland. You know, I think you and I talked about that last episode. They came up, I think. So, but yeah, squad that I'm very big on as well. So we'll see. It's kind of a prove us right, prove us wrong. Once you're on this list, it's your job to stay on it, right? Rafa does his homework, does a lot of homework on this. Believe it or not, I look at the spreadsheets. So yeah, well done, Coach. That does it for our inaugural RPI. Any other additional thoughts?
Just to kind of say everyone out there, like I said, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. That's what matters the most. Is, like I said, the rankings are nice and so forth, whatever. But you still got to play the games, and then what matters the most is who's lifting that trophy. And like I said, last year we had a lot of teams that lifted a trophy for the very first time. So, and we had, like I said, we have a few of those first timers there in the RPIs this year. Maybe we'll have, like I said, we'll see. Maybe have some new. Hopefully, we'll get some repeats. I think there'll be a couple of repeats there lifting the trophy, but there may be some new ones that we probably see at the end of the year. RPIs see who's in the top. I guess maybe getting into the top 10. So.
Yeah, yeah. As we start to transition here, Coach, want to remind everybody, go ahead on there, go like, rate, and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter, Twix, as we call it, at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube. That's the channel that we're trying to grow right now the most. The 50, just simply search the 50_50 pod. You can try 50 podcast, see what comes up. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but the 50_50 podcast, go on there, subscribe, like the episodes. That gets us flowing more in the algorithm, which leads to more subscribers, and the more subscribers, the more we can grow that YouTube channel, the more episodes that we can have coming your way in the future, as well as we look to grow and expand this network of ours. If you listen to the audio podcast, right, or your preferred podcast platform, whatever it may be, go on there wherever you like to listen to them. Go on there, give us a listen as well. Give us a rating there as well. Give us, whether it be, you can do most of them. I know Apple Podcasts, you can do up to 5 stars. Give us a rating. Click on the stars there. Tell us, if you think we're good, tell us. If you think we need to work on some stuff, if you think that we're garbage, then hey, share that with us. Obviously give some feedback, give some good quality feedback as well. Bring Rafa back in here. But either way, so make sure you like, rate, subscribe, follow us. And as well, Rafa, tell us a little bit more about where they can follow and look up the channel for the Fancast as well as the Roundtable. Oh, can you hear me?
Here we go. Sorry about that.
There you go. Go ahead. Tell us, where can they give us their Twitter handle or Instagram handle where they can find you guys for the Roundtable as well as the Fancast?
Yeah, so you can find us if you want coverage, like I said, top coverage for San Antonio area high school soccer. You can find us on, like I said, on YouTube, but also on Twix at SATX Soccer. If you want to follow USL Soccer, especially San Antonio FC, we have also the Fancast, but we do play, like I say, show that episodes on the Roundtable Twix, and also on the YouTube page as well. We did have an episode yesterday for the SAFC to go over the schedule. Interesting schedule. There's a game on Sunday, so we'll see. We'll see against Lexington. So maybe we'll have a little breakfast taco tailgate. So there on I think March 29th. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
Good deal. All right, we transition here to our final segment of the show. Something we wanted to do specifically for tonight's show is, with it being our final show of, excuse me, of the year 2025, as well as our fifth year, the final show where we hit our 5-year anniversary. Wanted to go ahead and take you through maybe first our top Texas high school soccer moments, whatever they may be, whatever Rafa's top 3 to 5, maybe, or the 3 to 5 that come to mind the most. Maybe I don't know if we can always call them top, but maybe we're going to look at our top Texas high school soccer moments, followed by our top podcast moments. Rafa, go ahead, take us through your top Texas high school soccer moments of the year.
I guess the number one is because I've never experienced this before.
Oh no, I already know where you're going with this one.
And I don't say you can say a top moment, but I guess a memorable moment is just being there at a stadium and expecting a regional final, and then hearing on the intercom, we'll ask for a couple of text messages that the game is not going to be played. The game between, like I said, the Progreso versus Salado, the regional, that state semifinal. Like I said, I was really looking forward to seeing the buzz on Progreso, how good they were, and then I saw the delay. I'm like, what's going on here? And I started talking to some of the parents of Salado, and they were confused too. And then finally, I got a text message from I think it was from you. I think also from Steve too. And then I heard on about the possibility about the forfeit and stuff. And then finally, they made an announcement, and just to kind of witness that, the players, I know, did you work so hard for, all season, and then to kind of be taken away from you, that's something that I've never experienced that, and I hope no one else ever experiences it again. That's a moment there. I think another moment I think I had during the season. I think one of the games I went to was probably one heck of it was kind of a little heavyweight boxing fight. Was getting to see Southwest versus Piper in that playoff game there at Ferris. I know me and Steve went to that game, and back and forth, and it looked like Piper might have been able to pull it off. They had a lead, and and then Southwest proved everyone who they were, and but it was just a great game. It was a very competitive game. And I think just I think that going back is just the I think the ones that are most memorable. I guess the third one period interviewing the coach Klein Kane. Just the story, about that program, all the struggles have been to never been playoffs and all that, and it just inspires you, just not to give up hope. If you have a belief and you're willing to work hard, and those kids found a way, and they're able to achieve something that, you know, the especially for the Klein district, it's been a while since we've had a Klein team go to state. So, because I know in the past Klein was kind of one of the top programs with Coach Baker, but and for them to kind of win that, it was, like I said, it's a really memorable, talking to him and hear, what they went through for that season.
Any more? Is that all of them?
That's well, just for that, and then also
no, not the podcast ones. Just I'm talking about the Texas.
Just the season. Yeah, just the season.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if you were done or froze up on me. So again, big kudos to Rafa. I know he's battling through audio and technical difficulties, going off of a hotspot in an area that is like zapping any signal he has. So really appreciate that, Rafa. I know no excuses. He's working through it, and we appreciate it. So if you see him and he looks a little fuzzy, looks like you're looking at him through a steam room or something, don't adjust your TV sets or your computer or anything, your phone. That's just him working through it. So, all right. So my top, I don't know, there was so many, but I knew you were going to hit on some of them, so I took them out. So top Texas high school soccer moments. and some of them were, full disclosure, some of them are a little bit selfish too. So I got to add that, but again, they're my top 20. They're my top ones. So, first one was, so being able to cover finally things lining up and being able to go and cover the state championships in excuse me, in at Birkelbach in Georgetown. And after a few, just I guess, false starts in the past, mainly because of logistical reasons in terms of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to cover it versus the reality of how we were being allowed to cover it. So finally was able to get there last year. It was a great first step. Plan on being there again with the podcast in conjunction with Tasco, working with the UIL this next year. So looking to be able to expand, have some cool things in mind, what we want to do for our coverage of the state championships. And the only thing that could change, throw a monkey wrench in all that, is if somehow I'm there playing that day, right? So knock on wood, that would be awesome, right? As I share that, but it's the only thing that could throw a monkey wrench in that. So, but of course, tongue in cheek there, but kidding, not kidding at the same time. But yeah, that was a great, just the coverage of it, the attendance, the experience, getting to talk with so many great coaches there. Tasco board members as well, multiple members of the media, and then being hosted there by not only by the UIL but also the Georgetown Coach Venegas and the Georgetown Eagles staff. They do an incredible job. It's a great venue and everything. They have it down. So it's great, just a great experience. So my next one was in kind of sticking with that state, theme. Two finals that came to mind, right? That's first at Cedar Park, Frisco Wakeland final, where 20 minutes in, everyone's staring at each other like, is this really happening, right? With Cedar Park jumping all over Frisco Wakeland looking rattled, looking very much unlike Frisco Wakeland. And Coach Langford, we talked about that. He admitted that they owned it, they stepped into it, they embraced it, rightfully so, like the champions that they are, and they didn't shy away from it. And they were still in that. They came, they continued to fight after they weathered the storm, but it was too little too late, and Cedar Park was able to knock off the reigning state champions, knock off El Cucuy, as we call them. And then the other one, what I felt was the match of the state championship weekend, and probably the second best match I've seen there in the last 5-6 years, was the Walnut Grove San Antonio Southwest state final. It was just, end to end action. Two teams putting it all out, just going for it, And when you see that and playing without fear of consequence, and just two teams that were obviously very talented, but also putting it out there, willing to put it all out there, and it was phenomenal. It was just high drama, everything. Definitely, you can, of course, right, shocker. You can always argue calls by the referee, whatever. Stop me, when was the last time you heard that? But in the end, you can't point the finger to what didn't happen. It was just the moment itself it was one of those moments where just Texas high school soccer was the winner in the end. So those are two that stick out to me. And then on the personal note, again, I mentioned a couple of them were personal. So my second year at MacArthur, being able to win back-to-back by-district titles for the first time in a decade there, that was something that I took to heart because of my players there and what they had gone through, what they had overcome. And it was so great to be able to just see them witness their success there. So really, really appreciate that. Was very happy for our community, the MacArthur community there. And then the last one, the most recent one, and where I find myself now, was taking the reins, being named the head coach at Canyon, Annie Braunfels Canyon, where I felt like it was, for a number of reasons, personal reasons, family reasons, it was it was the right time for a change. Certain things lined up a certain way, and I cannot say enough how blessed I am to be there with, just from top to bottom, administration, support, great parents, phenomenal community, great community that takes great pride in being Cougars, and then just an unbelievable group of young ladies that work so hard and are great competitors and just simply do not give excuses. So I love that so much. Blessed to be their coach. And again, top Texas high school soccer moments for me. So, all right, Coach, we transition here. Top podcast moments. So when we say podcast moments here, we're talking about Inside Texas High School Soccer, the 50/50 podcast, or our joint venture in bracketology with the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. Coach, your top moments. Uh-oh. Are you muted here? Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Can you
I
hear
got
me?
it. Yeah, I can
There
hear
you
it.
go.
Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
it's gotta be bracketology. Just come up with the concept of it, and I don't know what I kind of presented it to you, and I presented it to you and Harry, and then Steve are like, I don't know, we're too sure about it, and I know we had some epic journeys and um,
Yeah.
6 hour picks, 8 hour. Oh, I think the 7 hour picks, and into the late nights, and then I think I think the most fun when we did the kind of like the midnight madness
I agree.
at
I love that. And it was one of our most highly rated shows too.
And that was like, so me and Harry on that night we were at an SAFC game, and then we're like driving fast back to head back to our places and stuff to get everything set up, and that was a fun one. And like I said, to see people stay up that late, especially for 4A, to stay up that late, and that was a fun one. And just the picks, who goes who where, and um, like I said, it's always a fun one. Like I said, how do we top this off this year? This past year was a little different because we had two divisions in. You know,
Right.
so I'm sure I'm looking forward to maybe for this one coming up. See how this one goes. Goes down to, and it's always a fun one. And actually, I have another one in mind. Well, I actually also, with roundtable, like I said, we actually do a taps one. So if you, for the private school ones, if you watch, we do a taps one too. So we usually that around late February, early March, and then. But I have another one in mind. I'm kind of keeping that tight lid, and I'm sure we're gonna. It should. This one's gonna be a fun one. I think you'll like this one, and look, I think I told Harry a little bit of it. I said there's about having it at this place, and I think this would be a fun one, especially for an exciting year here for soccer here in 2026.
Awesome. Great stuff. That's all. Is that everything? That's everything, right?
I
Or
think
top podcast moment.
oh,
I just want to make sure before I cut. I don't want to cut you off.
just like I said, the moments. It's just interviews with the coaches.
Mhm.
From all over the state. Just learning from being a coach and also learning from one of those coaches what the trials and tribulations. I think a lot of people can't, if you're out there, if you've never coached high school soccer and so forth, just hearing the stories, you can kind of, like I said, I can kind of relate to a lot of some of the stuff where they go through the sacrifices and all that. And it's a big fraternity sorority within the high school coach. It's like a family. And if you're not been part of it, you really don't know what it, but you're hearing what it takes to be the sacrifices and so forth. But I think that's the fun part, is just learning from different coaches, hearing their stories and their different backgrounds and all that. And then, and also having your usual, the multiple, you know, we have coaches that have been there multiple times. I always hear all their different stories and so forth. We have some characters on here, so but it's always a blast hearing
Mhm.
from them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Completely agree. Excuse me. So for my top podcast moments, I had so many, but I kept cutting it. I said, no, don't add that. Don't add that. But I really did. So I spent probably like, I don't know, probably a good 20 minutes on this, just trying to determine that, kept scratching things out. And then, so in the end, these, of course, they're mine. So two of them are a little bit on the personal side, kind of. I already mentioned one of them, but I got to start with when we go back to this year's bracketology and we go back to Rafa Snafu. If I could play the live video, I would, but I don't want the audio to fail, so I won't. But so in case you weren't, when we were talking, in case you didn't get to tune in, or for those of you that did tune in and remember, so we're looking at this, we were discussing the 6A boys. We had just started, and so my man Rafa is in the middle of wearing. He's high on Mojo, right? He's big on Permian. He's wearing a Permian shirt. And where were you? I think you were in, was it Laredo, or where were you?
Laredo.
You were in Laredo, right? So he's okay. So first of all, he's in Laredo wearing a Permian shirt. So we'll talk about that, right? But anyway, So then Harry transitions, brings up the graphic where we're making our picks, and it is it's Permian versus El Paso Pebble Hills, and I already know he's picking Pebble Hills, and then so he puts himself in a corner, and he's about to pick against Permian while he's wearing a Permian shirt, and I just kind of unload on him, let him have it, and he takes his camera off screen. He's kind of dashing, trying to find another shirt in a hotel room. He can't find another shirt, and then finally does. So we're kind of rib poking him the whole time. So it was a great, hilarious, maybe 2-minute moment in bracketology history. But yeah, I know, Rafa, you were on the receiving end of that. But how do you what do you recall from that? Did you in that moment did you realize what was happening with your shirt and your pick, or not until I pointed it out? What was going through your mind there?
I just I don't know. It was just I was wearing that shirt that day. I just felt comfortable, and then I like, oh, I better. I kind of felt like Lee Corso when he has like when he changed those. I was like, maybe I have to start doing that. Get the
headgear change mid pick.
Anybody's watching? Yeah, anybody's watching? You want to send me some of your T-shirts? Send them to me. I'll wear them there. I can do like Corso and kind of change them through during bracketology and stuff. I don't know if I can get the mascot heads, but like I said, that's kind of felt. It was like Lee Corso picking Florida when he's wearing a Florida State shirt.
Yeah. So we talk about that all the time, guys. We will definitely sport your gear if you want to share it with us. We love, take pride in that, sharing your colors, sharing your school on here. But unlike Rafa, if you send me and I'm wearing your gear, I'm going to pick you. I'm not going to pick against you. All right, while I'm wearing your gear. So just
I did pick the Permian girls to win. So hey, that was a consolation on that.
So it was a great moment either way. It just I can't escape that one every so, and because we kept sharing that over the course of the rest of the year, a couple of times that came up, right? So which just made it hilarious. My second moment, a personal one, when we talk about kind of the related to the podcast, was being selected, being named to the board, the Tasco board, and as well as the director of content for Tasco. Kind of just something that was humbling for me, just because it's an organization that I have great respect for, just filled with great, phenomenal people, great soccer coaches, but even greater people. And so yeah, I'm excited about that, hoping to see where I can help the team as much as possible. But in the end, give back to our sport and give back to coaches and help grow this great thing, this great experiment we call Texas high school soccer. And then the last one is tied to the second one, but just I guess extension of what I just mentioned is, as we talked about a little while ago, Coach, is the podcast in general, right? The 50/50 podcast turning 5 years old on December 15th, 5-year anniversary, whatever you want to call it. My first thought is just, wow. I was like, I can't believe I'm still doing this, right? And what it's become along the way, kind of this was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Coach, because you've kind of been by my side for almost all of it, right? From, everything on as just what led to the natural, the organic creation, I guess, of this show, right, of Inside Texas High School Soccer, which started by accident, right? And so your thoughts as you've seen the podcast grow over these last 5 years and what it's become, what are your thoughts on that?
I think what it's done, it's bringing the game better. It's more coverage, better attention. Um, it's also inspired. Um, just the due respect of having that coverage and so forth. And um, out of the 5 years, it's like I said, we're seeing more and more people, come to it and so forth, and they enjoyed like I said, seeing the stories, hearing, the RPIs and all that. And a little sign out too. Also, I think a highlight too would be, I think, I don't know if you did mention this, is, but the Inside Texas High School getting recognized by Tasco as for the media award, you know, for the region, getting that, I think that really, kind of put a stamp of approval there, like to say, hey, being recognized, this right here, getting recognized for for the coverage and all that. And normally, like I said, it goes to someone like a media writer, that works for a big newspaper and all that. And like I said, a lot of those big media writers really do cover a lot. And it's coming to this, and I think this is what's kind of opened the eyes, I think you're seeing
Mhm.
more and more people enjoy what's out, the coverage, what's out there. They want to tune in and just hearing the stories and all that. And it's just due for this sport, like I said, which was kind of pushed back in the back burner. A lot of people didn't
Yeah.
care about it and all that, and because Texas here, it's all about football. But I think that's changed, and I think that's changed because
Mhm.
now you have the World Cup coming up and this and that. That's really I think a lot of the influences is you've seen some of the high school players that we covered. We have a couple of them playing pro. you know, that's the kind of the great things that some of the stories that we kind of started to hear. They've gone on to some of these players have gone on to bigger, better, better things and so forth.
Yeah. 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 No, I appreciate. Thank you for all of that. Thank you for the kind words, and you've been a big part of it. That's kind of why. That's why
Mhm.
I shared that with you, and why I asked that of you is you've been, like I said, you've been a big contributing member now for pretty much since largely the after its inception. Episode one of Inside Texas High School Soccer, and then
Mhm.
jumping on here a few times from I don't know, probably after once we finally started putting these live, right? You were a little shortly thereafter, you started joining us for a handful, a handful of episodes of the 50/50 podcast itself, right? So
Mhm.
thank you for all of that. Really appreciate you, all the work that you do behind the scenes, attending lots of games, and in that process, not making it about you, but making it about the coverage. So just really have a lot of respect for and not just you. That's an extension of I talk about. So we talk about Harry, right? A lot of the work, so much of the heavy lifting that he does in the bracketology side of the house. We forgive him for all the horrible teams that he cheers for, but aside from that, he just does great work. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of number crunching. It's a lot of double checking, triple checking things, and then you're waiting on a lot of stuff when it comes to bracketology. So big thank you to Harry, Steve Sanchez, member of the podcast, contributing member, one who we look to have on the the podcast more this year, this coming season of Inside Texas High School Soccer. Sometimes it's just a scheduling thing more than anything. Um, excuse me. And then we have all our additional contributors, I should say, across the state of Texas as that list continues to grow. Really appreciate all of you. We talk about out in the Region 3 world, in Michael Merritt, out in the greater Katy area. We talk about our one additional correspondent and contributor out in the greater Amarillo Canyon area, right in Yellow City Soccer 806.
Mhm.
So many great, the Ken Murphys photographies of the world, the AR shots of the world, and Alonso Ramirez as well. Austin Sports Journal, to name a few. We talk about, we can't escape, even, our good friends at Lethal, right? Or now as at Texas High School Soccer, right? What they've done for our sport, what they continue to do collectively. This is not it's not a competition thing. It's like the competition is, can we continue to grow Texas High School Soccer to have a bigger piece of the pie, that is owned by Texas high school football, rightfully so. And we're not saying that we're trying to compete against them. We're just saying that we want a bigger piece of the pie when it comes to support coverage of our great sport, right? It's not perfect. High school soccer isn't, but that does not mean any other variation of soccer in this country or in any country is, right? No such thing. The game belongs to the people. The game belongs to our athletes, our players. So I think it's important that we never lose sight of that, lose that focus as well. So thank you to all our listeners, all our supporters, all our day ones, those of you that send us a lot of messages, send us a lot of data. Now being listened to in 72 countries. That's probably one of the most staggering stats when we look at our podcast. 72 countries, right? Pretty awesome. A lot of the data, we'll put that out later, the data for the year of 2025, because it was significantly, easily most listened to, most downloaded season or year in our 5-year history. So And here we are. We find ourselves in season 6 of a show that we started by accident and inside Texas high school soccer. So really appreciate all of you guys. Our parents that are out there, our casuals that come across us only a couple of times. Thank you. Stick around with us, ride with us. I promise you, we'll entertain you along the way. Everything we do, 99.9% of everything we do is live. So whether it's our graphics earlier today, our screw ups, or things that aren't working, aren't cooperating, it's a live show. So you get to see all of it. We don't hide from it. We own it and we embrace it, and we let you know it's like we're on a shoestring budget, but we embrace that. That's a good thing, right? But because we want to try to keep it free, not looking to charge people or ask for money or this or that. And a big part of that too is what helps that is the likes, the subscriptions, and then of course our title sponsor, our great sponsor, our big sponsor in Gipper, and our title sponsor in Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com. Again, get out there. Listen, she's a phenomenal agent, I got to tell you. Especially if you're a veteran, you're looking to move anywhere in the Central Texas area, just doing phenomenal things. So get out there, support her as well. TexasVeteranRealtor.com. Big thanks to our partners, our sponsors as well. Final thoughts, Coach? Anything else? I kind of lumped them all in there together. My only additional thank yous that I have are to all our coaches that have joined us this year, making themselves accessible, making themselves, being genuine and wanting to come out here, excuse me, and knowing that they play a big part in growing our sport. But last but not least, a big thank you to my family, my wife, equal member of this podcast team who does a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes. Love her to death. Grateful for her. A lot of sacrifices that she makes for not only myself or the podcast, but our entire family and my daughters. Grateful to each and every one of them. So, final thoughts, Coach. Anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, just for everyone out there, like I said, what we do. Like I said, I appreciate for you having me on here these last 5 years. Like I said, it's not about being the validations or trying to be in the popularity group and all that. It's for us. We take this seriously. We take it about. It's about the actual coverage of the sport. Because we love the sport. It runs through our blood and so forth. And like I said, it's always a fun time to talk about these teams and so forth, the playoffs and all that. And like I said, working with you, working with Steve, and also with Harry. Like I said, me and Steve have done some games together, like some lives when we get to do some live streams and all that. So it's fun. And like I said, just want to thank everyone out there for supporting us over these last 5 years. Like I said, thank my mom for having the nice little background here when I
Quinceañera, that's here for your mom. Yeah, your quinceañera background. Really appreciate her.
And then like I said, hopefully I'll have better internet next week when I'm back in San Antonio. So, so I'll have that. And then also, like I said, on a personal, like I said, for today's I just want to send out my prayers to, like I said, to the Barrera and Valdez family. They're my parents' fathers. A childhood friend of mine passed away this morning. Juan Valdez, Mansfield. I guess I just want to send my condolences to them and the family. Because I grew up with him, and we're gonna miss him. And like I said, I just want to dedicate this little episode on my behalf, for me, to him. And like I said,
excuse me,
and send my prayers to them. And just looking forward to this 2026 season. And good luck to you, Coach. Hopefully good things here. I know you have that long road trip to the Woodlands coming up.
Yeah.
So safe trips.
4.5 hour trip to play a team that's 20 miles from us. Yeah, 25 miles, something like that. So, but no, we're excited. Yeah, excited for sure. And it's going to be fun. I'm just making sure I don't forget anything. That's just the planner in me. But yeah, it's excited. I'm at a great place. I'm at the right place. I'm grateful for that, and just excited for the season. And excited for every part, the good, the bad, the ugly, every part of it. It's why we do what we do. And I appreciate all our coaches. Thank you so much, coaches. Really appreciate you guys, our parents, but most of all, our athletes, our student athletes. It's about you guys. It's the reason why we're here. It's the reason why we do what we do. So thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I personally share a special thank you. My family shares a special thank you. But I do in particular just because, like I said, one of my go-to lines, I share it all the time because it's how I genuinely feel. I've had the best seat in the house for the last 5 years. So thank you so much. Eternally grateful to each and every one of you supporters of the podcast. Really appreciate you guys. So that is going to do it. On that note, we're going to get out of here. Again, like, rate, subscribe at 50_50pod on Twix, at 50_50 podcast on Instagram, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. For my lovely sidekick, Coach Rafa Casorena, I am your host, Coach Hector Cano. You know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. Happy New Year. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.